Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's William, and I'm delighted to host you again today for another episode of Cross-Site Examination, together with my co-host.
Hello.
Hello, Father.
Here we are.
How are you doing?
February, full of nice, beautiful feast days. It's one of these months that you can think, oh, the weather is terrible. It's not winter,
terrible.
It's not spring. It's such a month in between. And Lent is starting. But in fact, February is full of fun feast days as well. So we are going to talk a little bit about the highlights of February. We started with a light, of course, on the 2nd of February with Candle Mass, the presentation of the Lord. Now my eyes have seen my salvation. The old Simeon said that. He never thought he would see it because he was blind. But anyway, when Jesus was presented in the temple, he said, yeah, this is now the future of Israel. This is the one we have been waiting for. And this is the light that my eyes could not see, but that has come into the world, and I'm holding it now. So then we have a candle mass on the 2nd of February. We light our lights as we do with baptism. Because of the presentation of the Lord in the temple, we present our own light. And this Sunday, of course, that comes back. We are the light of the world, salt of the earth. Yeah, looking forward to it.
But today, thank you for the intro. People might get confused because
Yes.
we are talking about Saint Valentine.
Among others, yes.
So, we're going to tell you basically three things at once. What we kind of know historically, what the church remembers through legends, and why kind of both matter ultimately. So if you're looking for footnotes or everything, you'll be disappointed. There's a lot of interpretation here, a lot of legend. But if you think Valentine's Day is just a Hallmark nonsense, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. There's more to it than, just it's Hallmark that came up with it.
Yes.
So let's start with, the man behind the myth, dear Saint Valentine himself or themselves.
Indeed. There were two. There was a priest and there was a bishop. Anyway, the bishop didn't make much history. But the priest, he is the one that we remember during the Roman times. Soldiers who were Christian were not allowed to marry because the emperor wanted to...
Allegedly, sorry.
Well, it's a legend, but yeah, it survived until now.
No,
so
absolutely. Just want to make sure that we don't be fact-checked as in that never happened. It's
the Irish are still very keen on St. Patrick's, but yeah, well, what legend is that? But anyway, snakes aside. But Saint Valentine, he helped soldiers to get married against the will of the emperor. And if a soldier wanted to get married, he would be put in jail in order to prevent the soldier from having children. Because the more children there would be, the more the Christian sect would grow. And of course, the emperor said, I am God, there is no God but me. I am so. And the Christians said, well, I mean, you may be a son of God, but there is someone above your status. So
make sure that did not go down well.
That did not go down well. And Saint Valentine, he secretly married soldiers in prison with their wives, but through either the glove, so it meant the wives didn't have to be officially present, but he, in absentia and in abstinentia, he married the couples.
Very different things.
Two very different things, but yeah, the marriage could not be consummated because obviously the poor guy was in prison. But when the emperor found out, of course...
Claudius II, by the way, for the history buff.
There we go. Poor old Valentine was also put into prison. And when he was in prison, he got a death sentence for being such a rebellious Christian within the empire. But then the daughter of the hangman who was supposed to execute Valentine, she...
Do you remember her name?
Well, the hangman was Jairus. So
and his daughter was Julia.
Julia, how sweet.
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet. Valentine and Juliet. Oh, my God, William, you helped me grow. Anyway, Julia, she was blind. And anyway, love is blind. So she fell in love with Valentine. and or Valentine with her. I don't know, but anyway, there was something going on between them, and they started writing letters to each other. And of course, the soldiers wrote letters to their wives, to their loved ones as well, that somehow Valentine, through his Christian contacts, smuggled out of the prison so that the soldiers could keep in touch with their wives. But the daughter of the hangman, she somehow got a message across. I don't know whether braille already existed in these days, but if she was blind, it must have been difficult to read a letter. But anyway, it's a legend. So that aside. But
take some artistic liberty.
It takes some imagination. But somehow the letters from Valentine to her were signed by your Valentine. How sweet is that? And of course, the name Valentine, Valencia, it means courage. So
strength and courage, right? Which is, it's kind of ironic.
Valor. Yeah.
Do you not find it a little bit ironic that, you know, basically his name, which is again strength and courage, has kind of morphed into a feast day about feelings? You know.
Well, I mean, when you see what's actually left of it now, you mentioned Hallmark already. We do write anonymous cards.
In some cultures, yeah.
Yes, I even get them. Isn't that sweet? You know, I even get them from parishioners as well.
How many are you get?
Well, it's always the same one. So.
Oh, because you recognize the handwriting?
No,
how would you know?
Yeah. She couldn't help herself. Yeah. But no,
there's a story there. We won't peel the.
No, in Brazil. Oh my God!
We're back to Brazil.
Anyway, no. But even here, Valentine cards, I do get them, but usually with some chocolates as well. But in these days of Valentine, there were no chocolates yet, but there were definitely hearts, of course, and the hearts are red, and red for a reason. William, why?
Are you putting me on a spot now?
Yes. Why red?
Symbol for blood?
Blood, exactly. And Valentine was killed, of course. I mean,
beheaded even.
So it was the blood of the martyr. And of course, the liturgical color in the church for martyrs is still red.
Yeah.
And today we celebrate the feast day of Paul Mickey and his companions, Franciscans and Jesuits that were all murdered in Japan. And
of course, Loyola was murdered in Japan. He was the founder of the Jesuits, right? Loyola. I know this because I went to the Jesuit in school.
Yeah, but
I had no idea.
Paul Mickey and his companions. Okay. But there were over 30 of them. They were killed. I went to that shrine in Japan with Hiroto, the father of my godchild. Very impressive. And of course, the Christians are a very small minority in Japan, less than 1%, but a very influential minority. But the color of red is the color for the martyrs. That's why on Good Friday we wear red as well, the blood. So the red for Valentine is the color of a martyr, a Christian martyr.
Interesting. And just to go back on, you know, the fact that there were, I think it is a fact that there were two allegedly Valentines. Well, let me rephrase that. There are two Valentines. You mentioned the priest in Rome. The other would have been a bishop in Tournai. So there's a lot of questions, you know, are they the same or not? So for what it's worth, the academic consensus seems that there's the same person whose kind of story split into two different local traditions, for what it's worth. And just to add as well, I think, was it in 1969, and it's hard not to make a pun there, the Roman Church removed, I think, Valentine from, why are you giggling? You know what I'm talking about. So the Roman Church removed, I think, Valentine from the Roman calendar, right?
I don't know. Did they?
They did.
I mean, that's terrible.
I think because partially there was some confusion, maybe there's other reasons, but he had been removed from it's not a liturgical calendar, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we still pray for him. Yeah.
It's the Second Vatican Council.
But so many good saints with good stories were removed, and then we you know, but
he's still around. I mean,
I was just going to say the Vox Populi, Vox Dei. So the voice of the people is the voice of God. So, dear people, you don't need to be an officially recognized saint in order for you to be a saint.
Yeah. It's really interesting because basically he was martyred, executed, for love, but it was also an act of defiance, right? It's against the emperor. So
Absolutely.
there's a really gravitas. There's more gravitas to just that, there's the guy.
No, the valor came in. I mean, he was courageous. He stood up against the authority of the emperor.
Yeah.
And in the early Roman times, where early Christians were persecuted and discriminated, that was an extremely big statement of faith. He remained loyal to Christ rather than the emperor. And that cost him his head, as it did with the Japanese martyrs as well, of course. I mean, they were killed for the same reason.
Maybe it's a little sidetrack. What's up with the beheading? Is there a symbolic meaning there? But why beheading instead of, I don't know, so many other ways that you could, do you know what is it a Roman thing? Is it a cross-cultural thing to behead people?
You should ask the inventor of the guillotine in France. But today in the gospel we read about the head of Saint John the Baptist being cut off because the emperor,
King Herod, right?
King Herod, he had a dinner with his friends at the court, and they invited a girl to dance for them during the dinner. And the girl did a great job. She was very pretty and all that. And Herod, he must have had too much to drink. But anyway, in front of his guests, he said, "Oh, that was absolutely amazing. I'll give you anything you ask for. So you can have half my kingdom, but you just, whatever you want, tell me." So that daughter asked her mother, "Mom, what do you think I should ask for?" And that wicked bitch, she said, "Can you imagine? Ask for the head of John the Baptist." So Herod couldn't come back on his word. So he sent poor old John to be beheaded. And that head was brought on a platter to the daughter. She gave it to her mother, and her mother thought, yuck. So she gave it to the king. But just to impress the guest. So you ask me, why behead? It's to impress the crowds, of course. You make a statement that
pretty brutal.
It's terrible. You know that beheading thing in my hometown church. We have a beautiful pulpit, one of these neo-Gothic wooden carved pulpits, and on one of the panels you have this head of Saint John the Baptist on a plate. And I still remember my parish priest educating the altar servers in these days. He said, "You boys, you have to realize when you're an altar server, you dance for the public. And there will be kings here, and there will be mothers telling you what to do and what not to do." I said, "But when you make a mistake, just be your own man. Just don't ask anybody else for an opinion, including me. Just smile, own it, and move on."
Yeah. Give some wise man.
We were great altar servers because of it, yes.
So we mentioned, Valentine dying as a martyr. I'm going to try and tie it into, selfless love. He died for what he believed, ultimate love, sacrifice. Very quickly, we can then go to obviously Jesus Christ and, for his suffering. But before we get there, I thought it was interesting to pause a little bit on just the basic concept of love and the word and what it means to you, to me. Because obviously you can love your wife, but you can love a bit of chocolate. You can love a good football match. You can love a good sermon. There's so many things you can love. So, but somehow in our English language, we basically have one word, right? What do you love, by the way, as a side note?
Well, yeah, that's a very...
And I said what, not who. I'm sure you love everyone.
Exactly, but it's a very superficial and at the same time a very profound question. Because, you have this idea of, well, love you lots, love you more, love you. The word has suffered such an inflation. So the love for chocolate you cannot equate with the love for classical music or the love for art or the love for whatever. There are varying degrees of loving something.
The levels to this.
Levels, yes. And in the Greek language, you have different words for these varying levels.
Why don't we not have that in English? It's
the poverty of the language as well, I think, and also the poverty of the use of words.
Fair enough.
I think. Why do we equate love for chocolate with the love for a person?
Because there's no other word. I adore chocolate, I guess.
Poverty, yeah, or yeah. I crave or I like or whatever. But what do I love? Yeah, gosh, so much. I love life. I love when I look at my agenda at the beginning of the day, I think, oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that. I love the fact that no day is the same. The variety.
Yeah.
People continue to surprise you. I love people who give you energy, a sense of humor. But also I love good food. I love company. But also time out. You need it in order for you to have time in,
To love yourself.
Yeah. Well, we in my order, we don't have a vow of poverty. I love that too. We, we are very good with the poor, but we don't have to be poor ourselves.
Yeah.
So there is this beautiful idea of love life, enjoy life, quality time, take care of yourself, because if you don't, you can't take care of others either. So this sort of idea of great sacrifice and always being stressed or busy or carrying the whole world on your shoulders, for what? So live a little.
Yeah.
And it has to do with love a little, as I think. It's to be generous with yourself, with others. It doesn't mean that you have to accumulate an awful lot of goods or stuff, but just to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for the segue. You did mention in the Greek language that there's multiple words for it. I'm going to go down a little bit of a linguistic and historical. It's not a rabbit hole because it is really interesting. So in Greek, there's basically 4 words. I think we already mentioned a few. Eros being one, which related more to romantic and sexual love.
Erotic, eros.
Yeah.
So,
yes. There was philia, which was more friendship, bond, think shoulder to shoulder type of thing. Out of that came philosophy, a lot of any word with
lover of. So, yeah, it's the lover of Sophia, of wisdom. So philosophy.
Yeah. But it's more in a kind of fraternal
the
context.
Admirer, the appreciator of the yes.
Then you had a word called that I wasn't aware of, storge. I probably mispronouncing. My ancient Greek is very rusty, but storge, which was natural empathy or affection. It was more parental love. So again, that's and then the 4th one, which was in ancient Greek times, I'm thinking Homer, Plato, really ancient Greek, was agape. And agape was rather, I'm not saying meaningless, but it was used to describe, I'm loving myself a cup of soup, or the chocolate example.
Yes.
That would have been, why are we mentioning this? Now, because how we went all the way from agape to love. And I'm going to take you through the Bible a little bit and the translations because it's really interesting. So I'm going to take you all the way back to the 2nd, 3rd century before Christ. Obviously, the Old Testament, the Torah was already there. The Jewish scholars took it upon themselves to start translating the Torah in Greek because the Jewish people moved around in the Greek Empire, etc. And so they felt it was necessary to, which was the Septuagint, I think it was called technically. And so they started translating that, and they weren't quite comfortable with the word eros or philia to translate love. The word love in Hebrew. So they turned to agape. And that's where agape took its kind of first layer of kind of religious connotation and meaning. Fast forward, Christ came along, fast forward another few hundred years or 100 years, and the Greek then was translated into Latin, which was the Vulgate. St. James, similarly, couldn't quite find so what happened is that St. James then found the word caritas to translate agape. And so caritas, there's also the word amor, obviously in Latin, but for some passages, and I think in relation to the teachings of Jesus Christ, he wanted to use the word caritas, and we'll do a little bit of a dive into why maybe caritas is not amor. So love agape became caritas, which obviously became charity and charitable and all these things. And then in English, that then became love. Faith, hope, love. But that's kind of, and again, I'm taking many shortcuts, but that's in essence is how the word love in the Bible came to be. But it had obviously a slightly deeper meaning than what we, interpret now as love. I'll pause here and let you
the
comment.
agape is very much remembered in the context of sharing food together, the love feast. Look at how these Christians share their food, their homes. Look at how they love one another. There must be something more to this new Christian sect than purely spiritual love, because they also are, they share what they love with each other to show that, a spirituality also comes with solidarity, with generosity, with hospitality, and all these kind of things, taking care of each other. And that agape, that love feast, was very much celebrated around the tombs of the martyred Christians.
Okay.
To kind of be the Sunday picnic. They would remember their loved ones and take their food with them. It was kind of a potluck around the graves. But that's where the agape was very, felt as a very intense experience for past, present, and future. And then you mentioned the word caritas, charis. It has to do also love and grace. So you are graceful. You have received the grace of God, and you become grace-filled and full because of it. And that grace is gratis. It is free of any cost. So you give without expecting anything in return. Yeah? So the caritas.
Selfless love.
Selfless love, exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And the philos, of course, we have the word theophile, the lover of God, the one who identifies with God, who is near to God. You have homophile, so the lover of man. So the love that you have for a particular wisdom or for God or for whatever it may be, is also the approximation, the self-identification with that particular process or person or that philosophy, that idea. And in that sense, it becomes a relationship.
Let's try to tie that back to the teachings of Jesus Christ and, love thy neighbor, pray for your enemies. How would he, if he were here, and he is here, I get it, but how would he describe what he meant back then in using our word love? But what did he mean, do you think, when he said love thy neighbor?
Well, the new law substitutes the old law. So I think we've touched on that before.
For sure.
But I think St. Paul put it very eloquently in the letter to the Corinthians, and it is used at many, many weddings. Love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't boast, it doesn't put on airs, it is not concerned with your own truth, but with the truth, with something bigger than just your version of it. And in the end, that description has survived for more than 2,000 years, and you put your finger on what it means. To love is to be generous enough to allow both of you to grow and not claim it for yourself. I think if you say selfless love, it is no longer you who act, but Christ who acts in you and through you, and that is how the love becomes visible and becomes a sacrament, and then it becomes attractive. It's not just an idea, but we become what we believe, what we are. The word becomes flesh, become an authentic, visible, tangible presence of what you stand for. And therefore, there are different levels of love. Love out of obedience, or out of duty, or out of, out of generosity. Also, the thing you love most, you are also afraid of losing most. So you when you hold a newborn baby in your hand, you feel all of a sudden extremely small and vulnerable. You're afraid to drop it or lose it or whatever. And the woman who has given that baby to you becomes a completely different person when that happens. So
is that then the hallmark, pun intended, of self-sacrificing love? Is that it comes with vulnerability? I love your example of the baby, like, because I obviously have had two of them, and to your point, I remember it as it was yesterday. You do feel suddenly like so vulnerable, and
yes,
because you're overwhelmed with love. So yeah, maybe I like that a lot.
It is so essentially human that the smallest, most vulnerable thing in life. That is, I think, why Christmas is such a powerful statement. If God comes into the world completely dependent on our care and on our acceptance of Him as a baby, and this is life. Yeah, it's up to us to help it grow and nurture it and help it to become unique and different from ourselves, and then let go again.
Yeah, it's ultimate love, right? Is acceptance, etc., sacrifice. I'm gonna go back to the whole, love thy neighbor, and pray for your enemies. I'm maybe paraphrasing here, but I think there is something about praying for your enemies. Here's my question, as a layman, as a human: how do you balance, having this type of love and capacity to love thy enemy without necessarily being trampled on? At what point do you dust your sandals off? At what point do you cause havoc in the temple and throw everything out, or kill the fig tree, or whatever? So, do you know what I mean? Where, at what point do you defend yourself and not kind of carelessly give love?
Yeah. I don't know, because every case, of course, is different. I mean, if every fiber in your body reacts because you feel this is completely unjust, I need to defend justice here, it's also an act of love. And yes, in that sense, your enemy or your own behavior needs to be corrected, needs to be, there are repercussions for our behavior.
That's tough love, essentially.
Yes, but also, absolutely necessary. Even love is not always involved. Jesus says, "Love your enemies, turn the other cheek." He's talking about diplomacy and about keeping the dialogue going. Also, retaliation, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, doesn't always work. So
no,
there is another way of keeping the relationship going, even though it is wounded. And the thing we may hate most about ourselves, that is our own worst enemy, maybe our own personality. You have to continue to work on it. You have to somehow overcome that limitation, that hatred, in order to move on, to move forward. So yes, there is evil, there is destructive force, but it doesn't mean that is then the last word. That is not the thing that creates an impossible obstacle to overcome. You keep the lines of communication open, and if through bullying or through a display of power these lines are cut, it takes 5 generations to get through that trauma and through that. So
when you mentioned what you just talked about, I suddenly started thinking about game theory. Which obviously is this science about how we collaborate as humans, as nations, as tribes, and the most effective strategy amongst all the different strategies you can employ is the one where you both start on equal footing. But if the one does you wrong in some way, shape, or form, the best way at the outcome, the best way to nurture and foster that relationship is for you to respond to that ill that's been done to you, but then revert back into amicable mode type of thing. That is, of all the strategies that have been deployed, and maybe I'll stay angry. Again, we're talking about thousands of theories that have been tested. That is the most effective strategy for collaboration, is to basically stand your ground if somebody did you wrong, but then very quickly revert back to, okay, what did we learn from this, and collaboration. It seems to be the best way in game theory for people and nations to collaborate. So there is a need for us to take a stand at some point, whether it's as a human or as
And
a
I think
nation.
that is why here in The Hague, of course, we have these tribunals. Victims need to be heard. The pain needs to be validated. The whole process of both the perpetrator and the victim coming together in a different perspective is a way to heal, even if reconciliation isn't possible. The fact that the mass graves, the tremendous violence that has happened doesn't stop there. There is still, we need to deal with our past. And to give that a chance, you give a chance to new generations also to be a little bit more careful about things that came at great cost to us, like freedom and also the mistakes we made in the past. I mean, to what degree do we actually learn from them? If we leave them in the past and not do anything with them, no.
I mean, we do have the expression, history repeats itself, unfortunately, for a reason.
Yes.
I think, look, overall, I think we can look back at the last 2,000 years and say confidently that we've evolved in a positive way as
absolutely
a race, as a humankind. You know, we're growing older, there's less war, although it's hard to believe sometimes when you look at the news, but we've moved on, like we've become better.
Yes. Yeah, I think of the tremendous gesture that was just very, very recently when the Sudanese warlords came to the Vatican for a retreat on the invitation of Pope Francis. And Pope Francis was already very frail. And he lowered himself to kiss the feet of these warlords and beg them for peace. Unfortunately, the situation in Sudan is now even worse than it was then. But to make such a statement like Bishop Desmond Tutu tried to do in South Africa as well, to bring opposing parties together and reflect on the consequences of their choices and behavior, takes a very courageous, I mean, we are back to Saint Valentine, person to insist on the power that is able to overcome evil, and that's the power of love. It's not a weak power. It's a very concrete, real, vulnerable force in which we as human beings thrive.
Which is, thank you for the segue. You know, you mentioned power, and I'm not sure if you said weapon, but I will use the word weapon in the following sense. Did the teachings of Jesus Christ weaponize, in the most benign way possible, love? In the sense of, loving your enemy, pray for your enemies, love thy neighbor. I don't think it's unique to the Christian faith, this concept, because obviously Buddhism has a metta. But I do think it's quite unique that, especially the praying part, that you invoke intercession to pray for your enemies. I think he very much was obviously uprooted the whole community back then and faith. But what's your thoughts on it? Is this unique to Christianity? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well, when Christ says on the cross, "Forgive them, Father, because they don't know what they are doing," I think you have an example there that if we are blinded by our hatred and react in such a way that we do not value the strength of the opposite force of love, you become a robot. You become an how would I say, an instrument of imposing your own will to such a degree that the other person doesn't matter anymore. Right? You let emotion overtake, and the reason is put to the background. And for a well-balanced act to happen, you need reason, emotion, and also action. So if the head, the heart, and the hands, all the three of them need to work together. But yes, it is a weapon in a way that disarms
Yes.
people.
Thank you. That's the perfect wording. That much better wording. And I know I didn't write this down, but certainly I do think about these. Sometimes you see these videos come past in your social media feeds about trials, especially in the US, because it's more televised there or filmed there than others, where you have these really powerful moments where a victim of horrific crimes, and there are a lot of those examples, where the victim or the family of a victim stands up and asks the judge, can I embrace, can I give a hug to the person who, in some cases killed my husband, my child, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And no one on planet Earth can look at that and not be in awe or moved by that, by this power of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I thought about that, but I think it ties into forgiving.
Yes,
and
I think of the Chinese students on the Heavenly Peace Square who stood in front of the tanks, and the tanks stopped because they didn't have the courage to override him. A person like that goes down in history like a very weak and yet an incredibly strong force that is able to transform violence.
It is an incredible image. I'm showing my age maybe here, but I think it was 86, 87, somewhere around those. I remember the guy he had a plastic bag and it was on the way from the shops. Or was it a lady? I can't even remember. But this image is so powerful.
Also, for me, the first time when I visited St. Paul outside the walls in Rome, you see this tremendous statue of St. Paul with a sword and a pen. Both weapons that he used to, first he persecuted Christians and slayed them. And then he came to, conversion experience. And then he used his pen as an instrument to write. And it stayed. His writings still have an impact on human history and human behavior. So our legacy, it's a balance between the pen and the sword.
When you mean our legacy, what do you mean when you say
our own legacy? How we
as a church, as a human race,
as a human being? I mean, how will we be remembered? And of course, everything is relative because in 3 generations' time, nobody will remember us anymore. But is our legacy one of did we contribute actually something to the well-being of the world and in terms of love? Or, what did we do to destroy it or to take away from it? I think it's always an examination of conscience that everybody needs to go through.
Do you have any favorite passages, whether it's from a book or the book, that talks to love, or a saying that stuck with you, something about love? Putting on a spot here a little bit, but...
Yeah. Well, I see it in Rotterdam on one of these buildings that is written, everything of value is vulnerable.
Everything of value is vulnerable.
I think it was Erasmus that said that. It's on one of the big buildings in Rotterdam. And it's true.
Okay, you're going to have to unpack that a little bit.
Well, everything of value we have invested it because it's meaningful to us, and therefore it's dear to us. Everything that's dear to you is vulnerable. It's
so including
you want to defend it, you keep it, treasure it. So
do you think he also meant more materialistic things? I don't know.
No. On the contrary, I think he meant the human rights, values, justice and peace, freedom, relationships. So things that are really of value to us, not material value, but because material value can be replaced by things. But those irreplaceable things in our lives or people in our lives, is vulnerable. It's so therefore treasure it, treasure the moment when you've got it, invest in it.
Do you know where the heart of Saint Valentine is? It's somewhere in a European city. Dear to my heart. I'll give you a clue.
Joking. To your heart. Well, it must be Antwerp.
Very close, but it's Dublin.
Dublin.
I think it was Pope. I have it somewhere.
The heart of Saint
The
Valentine.
how to say so.
Good grief.
It's located in Dublin, in the Whitefriar Street Church. It was a gift from Pope Gregory XVI in 1838 to an Irish preacher famous for his sermons.
In 1838.
Yeah, so God knows what heart that is.
Say it must have dried up.
But it is actually a famous location in Dublin. Like a lot of Irish people would go there to bless their marriage, etc. So it is next time if you or we're in Dublin. I don't think I've been. I'm sure Eva probably went to.
I love these relics and these stories in the Catholic Church. We have the mother milk of Mary and the footprints of Christ before he went off to heaven, and I mean it's fantastic. Come on,
it is very entertaining. We haven't even touched on the shroud.
Exactly.
It is fascinating. I'm sure we might do an episode on the shroud actually of Turin, right? Is that where it still is?
Yeah, sure, yes.
But we're not going to digress there. Another arcane little thing like that is called the vinegar Valentines. I never heard of it. So in Victorian era, there was this rather nasty tradition of sending vinegar Valentines, which were basically insulting anonymous cards sent to unwanted suitors.
Oh,
that sounds unnecessarily mean.
Yeah. It's like a bomb letter. Gosh. But February, of course, Valentine, definitely. But just before Valentine, we have Our Lady of Lourdes, on the 11th of February. It's the World Day of the Sick. Pope John Paul II declared that, the World Day of the Sick. And one of the beautiful things on that day, quite a few communities have a communal anointing of the sick. This is beautiful. I mean, really a sign of love, saying, okay, we may be sick because we suffer from a wounded world. I mean, you have no access to healthcare or to hygiene or whatever. We need to give the victims of a system that makes people sick, makes them depressed and all that. We have to look at the root causes of suffering. So the world needs healing as well as the victims of that structure that causes them to suffer. So that World Day of the Sick has also one of these very, nearly protest values, that transformative value that looks not only at the individual, but also at the structures that can be avoided. So avoidable causes of suffering and sickness. So healing also comes with a responsibility. Don't just ask God to do it for us, but let's offer God to do it with him together. So there is a two-way traffic there, definitely. So I love that feast day as well. And then Carnival just before Lent, of course. That's a whole other thing.
You were just mentioning that you were trying to find a hole in your agenda to go and...
The south of Holland is already in the mood.
So for listeners' sake here, because Carnival means very different things in very different countries, don't need to tell you, Brazilian lover, and how would you describe Dutch Carnival?
Well, the Dutch Carnival is, you have the parades, people dress up, you have the...
similar to other carnivals?
Similar, the Mardi Gras, of course. Mardi Gras, so it's...
Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday, exactly, yeah. So the last days before Lent, you go all out, because during Lent you have to go less. But... people they enjoy themselves with drink and food and.
But it's really the south of Holland, right? I believe
the Catholic part of Holland. Yes. The more Catholic part,
and
also therefore some pockets in the north as well have their carnival.
They can also have some fun.
Absolutely, yes.
Joking.
And then of course Ash Wednesday comes after that. But it's good to have a peak of joy and then a time of
we need it with this
moderation.
weather, Father Shark. I'm sorry.
Exactly, it's really good for us.
For what it's worth, early February. I moved on to spring. I'm not putting on a jacket anymore as a protest. We had 10 degrees the other day. I thought it was over, then the next day it was
shivering. Still, it's so cold.
Anyway,
but I'm going to Madrid on Thursday because on Valentine's Day I'm doing a wedding in Madrid. Now, how nice is that? So. One of our former parishioners, Blanca, congratulations if you're listening. Blanca. She's getting married to Ralph in a beautiful church in Madrid. So I have my sermon ready for.
Speaking of weddings in St. Valentine, did you know? Of course, you know you're quite familiar with the Philippines, but it is apparently there a big tradition to have mass weddings on Valentine's Day in the Philippines. where they marry literally apparently hundreds of couples.
Wow.
Who then apparently cannot divorce afterwards legally. We talked about this in the
Yeah,
one of the
that's
other
all.
episodes.
That's all
Philippines
other
comes up a
business.
lot. It's a really interesting country.
Yes.
But to me, I would be remiss not to kind of invoke a little bit of biology here in love, and especially when it comes to eros, the love for, your better half, put it that way. I think it's a well established thing that it's a cocktail of dopamines and periphenephrines, and I forget all the names, and there's a lot of hormones going on and going crazy. That effect seems to be lasting for 12 to 24 months, which kind of honeymoon phase that people refer to. Having been married myself now for, God, I should know this. I might clap for an edit here. For a long time. Let's put it that way. No, I know this. I know this was 14 years, I think, nearly. When does obviously the honeymoon phase, the hormones, all that lovely stuff that fades away? Is that when I'll coin it Christian love starts? Is when there's no more the dopamines to mask all maybe the flaws that your part might have, and that's when again Christian love kicks in, which is sacrificing, which is compromising, which is accepting that your better half is really terrible at loading the dishwasher or whatever it is.
William, did you have a bad day this morning, or what happened to you?
Why the baseless accusation? I have had a great day. Is this a loaded question?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, it must be the weather. February brings that as well. People feel a bit depressed. The summer is still far away. In a marriage or relationship, same thing, of course. If you have been at it for a while and you still have 30 more years together, and it may seem like a long time. But Christian love, there are many ways of being present to each other. And a physical way is extremely important. Your affection, your tenderness, your physical nearness says a lot about the quality of your relationship. So all these juices flowing or not, your physical nearness is absolutely necessary. So I think the older we become, the body becomes slower and a little bit perhaps less attractive, who knows. But the quality time together, just on the couch watching a movie together and then feeling each other's nearness, can be just as satisfying as,
No, you're right.
The steamy love that you have at the beginning of your relationship. The quality of our relationship translates itself in many expressions of love, and that doesn't become less.
No, that's true. Maybe it was coined or phrased a little bit too cynically, but I do think it's fair to say that the butterflies in your tummy that last for only so long, and then after that you need to make it work, right? We talked about marriage already. We're not going to redo the podcast.
And lust and all that, yes.
But temptation and lust. But I think it is an interesting kind of little segue to languages of love. I think in psychology it's a well-established thing that people receive love in different ways. I've done that test a while back, and so has Eva, and so I'm, to your point, very much of the tactile sort. I like nearing and then touching, etc. But others interpret love through more acts of service, whether it's again loading the dishwasher, cleaning, etc. So what's your love language? Receiving gifts, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation. I think it's 5 or 6.
That depends completely on the person I'm with.
Okay, what's
authenticity?
For me, then,
authenticity for me is the key word. If it's real, it's beautiful. If it's fake, I hate it. So the love language for me is no matter what. Honesty. If a child gives me an ugly drawing, but he made it with so much passion and love, of course I'm putting it up on my fridge. It's beautiful. So the authenticity, that's it. Yes.
Okay. That's fair. Parasha, anything else you want to share about love? It's a bit unfortunate that could be one of our shorter podcasts because it is a huge theme. So is there anything else you would like to touch on with regards to Saint Valentine or love in general?
Well, first of all, the Valentine feast. Here in the parish, we always make a little bit of a thing of it. So we ask those couples who want to renew their marriage vows. And I think As priests, we also do it on Holy Thursday, the day of the institution of the Eucharist. Do this in memory of me. But I think the renewal of marriage vows, you do the same. We do this to remember Christ and to remember each other in this relationship. And it is in the doing, and not only in the saying yes, but in the doing that you accept a lifestyle that is unique for the two of you. So a renewal of vows also is a kind of a silent statement of saying, every year is different, like Christmas is different every year. But we celebrate the fact that no matter what, we are still here together, and we commit for another year to make the most of it. So we need to find these moments in the liturgical year to count your blessings, to be grateful, and to do something special for your loved one.
I
So
think
Valentine's Day, do something special. Be somebody special for your loved one. And
be somebody special for your
of
lover. I like that a lot.
course,
I
time,
like that.
quality time. Create something that makes you do this in remembrance of me. Yes, it's important.
I think we omitted one important thing here, and I think that's the concept of loving yourself. Right? We haven't touched on that really, because it's also kind of a bit of a core message of Jesus Christ being, love your neighbor as yourself.
Do you think a lot of people have problems with loving themselves?
Personally, of course I do think that.
Yeah. Why?
Gosh, so many reasons, Father. Without trying to be too personal, but it's part to do with your upbringing, your culture, your values, what you look into. Hang on. Why are you reversing roles here? I'm the one asking the questions.
It's funny
You're
because
buying time, I guess.
in society we are constantly asked to answer our needs. New clothes, new car, new holidays, new this, new that. And yet, it doesn't fulfill our deepest craving. Do you love yourself? So do you need all this stuff and all that? So we are raised with the idea of selfless love. You always have to be available for others, and be giving, be kind, and all that. But being kind to yourself, a lot of people have to learn that still.
Absolutely.
How and it may be a nice podcast for another time. Why is it so difficult to love yourself?
I think partially also because it quickly turns into pride as well, which is it's a dangerous trap, right? To kind of go too far into that
selfishness,
narcissism,
arrogance.
I'm sure there's one person many people think of right now
at the cost of others. Absolutely, yes.
But
loving yourself has to do also with not being too harsh on yourself. Taking yourself with a pinch of salt, being gentle with yourself. And of course, it's always the case. If you can be it with yourself, you can be it with others too. It is.
I think I would go even further. You have to before you could do it for others.
Yeah, but if you have to, then it doesn't come as a free will act, and then it becomes an obligation. It has to come from within, in a way.
Like I always go back to this analogy in the airplane. When they do the security, not the security, but the
oxygen mask.
The oxygen.
Yes.
First, you, in order to be able then to take care of the kids and people around you that need it.
Well, I've seen a lot of people self-sacrificing themselves for their job, for their careers, for God knows what. As priests as well, always be available for people, for the church, to the extent that retirement is only at the age of 75 and you keep going until you're 80, until you practically drop dead in the job. But yeah, people feel guilty about taking time out because we are being trained to always give. So that's why, and my new book that is coming out at Easter will also emphasize that. You have to love what you do and do it with joy. And it's not selfish to choose the things you love to do and that make you happy. So shed the stuff that wears you out, that stresses you out, because then it becomes a tumor in your life and you become also a difficult person for other people. Yeah? So volunteers, if you want to do a volunteer job in the church, first don't look at the needs of others, but what are your own needs? Why do you do this? Do you like to do this? Does it make you happy? Does it make you joyful? Then you'll be a fantastic volunteer. But if you do it out of obligation because you think the homeless person needs you, well, probably
St.
not.
Peter will see right through you at the gate.
Exactly. So do things that make you happy and that liberate you.
No, and you're right. That's what I meant with you have to. I think probably to rephrase it, it's more you'll be far more effective in loving others and doing good around you if you are at peace with yourself. To kind of put it a different
absolutely.
way, you know. So if dear Saint Valentine walked into a modern restaurant tonight, or Saint Valentine's night, if you're going out, would he recognize what we're doing? You know, or would he be like, "Hang on, why are we celebrating my beheading with chocolate?" You know, it's interesting that such a brutal but also beautiful story became, you know, the symbol of love, essentially, you know.
Well, he fell in love with the hangman's daughter, you know, and somehow that could have meant a complete different turnaround for him, because if the daughter was able to influence her father, he probably wouldn't have killed him, but out of duty he had to listen to the emperor, of course. So you never know, all the conflicts of conscience around this man, because he took a very courageous stand to give witness of his faith, may have asked or caused a lot of people to examine their own conscience. And that is what St. Valentine still does for us today. So
if he would walk around now, I think I would advise him to go up to Hallmark and ask for some royalties. I think he's owed a few royalties on all those cards that have been sold in those roses.
So, okay. Short final sentence and thought. Don't send me cards this year, but do send me chocolates.
There we go. I was wondering where that was going. On that note, people, thank you again for listening in. We've had a great time discussing this. Be kind to yourself, love yourself as well. Be kind and have a great time with your loved ones, whether it's partner or kids or grandparents or friends.
Exactly. And have fun. It's Carnival before Lent. So, hey, February.
Happy St. Valentine, everyone.
Happy St. Valentine.
Talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.